Good morning, guys. So, I always hate doing videos. I don't know why, because I'm a weirdo. But I always feel this pressure to do so. And of course, I've told everybody I know what I'm going to tell you guys today. But I, there's, there's these events that happened that has led me to believe that it has something to do with the return of the Lord. We know it's time. I think that anyone who has the Holy Spirit in them knows that we are in that season. Absolutely. That season is now. And the time of his return is now. I'm just sitting out my deck. I just wanted to point over there where the sun's coming up. It's so nice. But I'm an early bird. Early bird gets the worm, right? So I'm gonna go back a little bit. This is gonna be a bit of a long video. And I record off my phone, so I don't know how to do anything else. I'm not technical savvy or whatever. I'll try to be quick because I think my phone only lets me record for like 25 minutes or something. So I don't think my videos can be much longer than that. And I don't know how to put two of them together, I reckon. I guess I could do part 1 and part 2, right? So, I could do that. I know I'm going to be an awful little start because there's so much in my brain that I don't know where to start. So I had a rapture dream, a rapture vision, because I was not asleep. And it's labeled my rapture vision. It's down a little bit. I share other videos of other people's rapture dreams or visions, or because I believe that's a sign of the time. You know, young folks in our old folks who have dreams and visions, that's a sign of the time. So, and I'm obviously watching. I'm watching what's going on across the pond, right? And what's going on in the East and things like that. But also in the state that our world is in, and we can go on and on. We are definitely in this season. I can feel it in my spirit. It's anytime, and I'm excited. But some people think I'm a nutcase, but I'm excited, you know. But I think that I'm probably getting off a little bit off subject, but I was just talking to a friend of mine, and I think that if anyone, I have spoke to so many people, self-proclaiming Christians and otherwise, who don't see that we're in the times, thinks we're far off, or have flat out told me. I was talking to a girl who proclaims to be a Christian and Jesus that and Jesus this, and I said, you know, we're in the end times. She was like, what? And I said, oh yeah, Jesus will be back soon. And she's like, Mary, that might be nice, but I'm not ready for that. I've got things to do in this world, so no. And I just thought, man, my heart breaks for this world, and especially self-proclaiming Christians in America. I mean, they are, I don't know, they are, yeah, we could probably do a whole nother video on that. But point of the matter is, we are in the end times. Now, I've had dreams and visions since I was a little girl. My first one, I was 4 years old. And I can go through those. And, you know, I might do a video on several of the visions and dreams that I've had throughout my life. Every single one has been about the end times and the state that the world will be in those times. And so, as a matter of fact, I think I might do a few videos and go through a couple of those. But yeah, every single one was about it. And but So this one didn't seem to be like a dream. What I'm going to start this off with didn't seem to be a dream about end times. Um, excuse me, I'm out here in the dew and my allergies are rearing up here. But my grandmother passed away 2 years ago, August 14. A year before she got sick, like in March, May-ish, I had a dream. Her and my mother lived together. And I had this dream that they had both died of the same thing. And so I think that I just thought that maybe there was going to be a house fire and they would both die, or there'd be a car accident. I mean, I was constantly like, is that it? Are they going to die? I mean, it's the two most important people. They were my parents, my mom and my grandma. They played the biggest role of my parent, of being a parent to me than any other person. And so the way that my grandmother went to be with the Lord in those last moments of going, and the way that my mother went in the last moments of going were the same as how it happened in real life. I was with both of them. So my grandmother, after having this dream, a year before my grandmother even knew she was sick, she wasn't young. I mean, she was almost 90, I think 10 days before 90th birthday. And I called my family. I called them and said, hey, Granny's not going to be here much longer. Mom's not going to be here much longer. This is the dream I had. And I urged them to spend time with them and to just, not to, they let so much time go by, and Mom and Granny was always there to kind of fend for themselves because family just didn't go down there a lot. And I even tried setting up a birthday party for my grandma that year. This was in 2019. Her birthday is in August 24th, and she passed away the 14th. So and nobody could show up. We had one family member who was taking a kid off to college. We had another family member whose in-law had passed away. We had somebody else who was out of town, and ended up just being my sister and I. And I mean, we would have family gatherings at Granny's, up to probably 8-10 years before she passed away, every single year, Memorial Day, Christmas, Thanksgiving, and I'm talking hundreds of people would be there, but nobody could show up. So me and my sister, a few of my great nieces and nephews were there, and my mother's brother, of course, my granny was there. So we have the birthday party and everything, and so it's just cake and ice cream, singing, pictures, things like that. So we're sitting on the porch, my mother, myself, and my grandmother. This is before anybody else gets there. And my grandma says, Mary, I need to talk to you. And I said, okay. She said, no, I really need to talk to you. I got to tell you something. It's important that you know. And I said, okay. And she had this urgency that it was important. The Lord had told her to tell me. And at the moment, I didn't know why it was so important that she tell me. I'm still not sure. Maybe it's just because it's a piece of a puzzle, or it's what has made this significant, because I think without this first dream, I wouldn't have paid much attention to all the other events that happened afterwards. So she says, I say every year, I might not be here for Christmas. I might not be here next year for my birthday. I'm telling you, this is my last Thanksgiving. She's been saying that for 20 years, every year. She's sitting on the porch and she said, I won't be here next year for my birthday. And I said, I know, Granny, because I'd already had that dream that they were both going to pass away. Now, I thought it was sooner than it was. I thought it was any minute. And And I thought it was imminent. I was waiting and watching, like, is this it? Is this what's going to cause them to die? Is this what's going to cause them to die? And I said, I know, Granny. And she said, no, I'm serious. She said, I know I say it every year, but this time it's real. She said, the Lord showed me. He came to me and he told me he's at the door. He's at the door waiting to take me home. Pay attention to me. I said, I'm listening, Granny. She said, it's not going to be much longer. He's coming to get me. I said, I know that, Granny. She said, the Lord showed me. I said, he did me too, Granny. Said he came to me in a dream and he told me. She said, oh, but there's more. And I said, I know there's more, Granny. She was talking about my mother. And I knew when she said that she was talking about my mother. My mother was sat beside her. And she points to her and she said, she is coming right after me. Because in my dream, Gran went, then Mom. But I thought it was the same event, being that they were dying of the same thing, which I didn't know what that thing was. And I said, I know that too, Granny. She said, okay, as long as you know. I said, okay. Well, that was just confirmation of the dream that I had had earlier that year prior to doing this birthday party. So then birthday passes, all that, and things would happen, and I was still doing the same thing. Is this it? Is this it? Is this it? This was in August 2019. In May of 2020, Granny fell out. That day, she was out picking weeds in her yard. She was very active. She was not a weak woman. She went shopping, carried her own groceries in that day. And that night, she was having a hard time sitting, got in bed. She told Mom, she said, I don't feel good. I'm having a lot of pain. Well, she tried to get out of bed, and she couldn't. So they called people who was close by. My nephew ended up coming, had to carry her to the car. Took her to the hospital. They did scans, found out that she was 80% of her liver was cancer. They give her 2 weeks. She was bleeding through her liver, so they put surgical glue, and they said that the surgical glue would only last 2 weeks, and that they didn't think that she would last more than that she would bleed out probably before the cancer took her. And this was in May 24th, when they did a video call, because we couldn't do visits then. It was 2020. Told us what the case was, told them that they was getting things ready and having palliative care come in, and they would set up hospice and stuff like that to come home. So I went down, I took time off work, I took care of Gran and everything. She passed away in August. 3 months later, August 14th. A little less than 3 months, 10 days short of being 3 months. So after this, it's just Mom. And I'm like, okay, maybe my dream was wrong. Maybe something wasn't right. Maybe they're not dying of the same thing. Mom has kidney disease. She was in stage 3. So I'm on it, watching her kidney, checking her out, doing natural things. I mean, Mom's sugar had been under control probably a good 5 years, just doing natural stuff. She'd taken herself off of all 3 of her sugar medicines. And I thought, what's this going to be? What's this going to be? And Mom just kept getting weaker and weaker and weaker. So this was 2020 that Gran had passed away. Whole year goes by, 2021. I mean, her health seems to be doing fine. I mean, even her kidney numbers are going up. And so I'm confused. Maybe this isn't what's happening. Well, she comes around March this year. March the 11th, I had a dream. And the dream was about my mom. And so my cousin's wife, I was with her, which she's the one who was with me helping take care of Granny when she was sick with cancer. Those times we were there together all through the whole thing. And the nurse that was there when Gran passed away, had called her and said, I know her death date and time. I need to give you this information because Mary has to know. which I find it odd because my grandma, when she had told me a year and a half prior, or 2 years prior, she said, I have to tell you, you have to know. I was told to tell you. I wasn't quite sure why I had to know. I'm still not sure why I had to know. But maybe anybody who's listening to this has any ideas, be great. I could think about, pray about it. But about any of the details of any of this. So, it says, I know the death date and time. Mary has to know, but she can't know until the last minute. So she calls me into the room. We're in the same house, and she says, hey, I just got a call from Stacy, the nurse, and she said she knows the death date and time. She says, do you want me to tell? I'm not supposed to tell you till the last minute, but do you want to know? You know I love you. I'll tell you if you want to know. And I was thinking, well, if the Holy Spirit doesn't want me to know the Lord doesn't want me to know until the last minute, then I need not fall into the temptation of wanting to know. So I said, no, tell me when I'm supposed to know. So then I leave the room and I get a phone call from a girl at work. And she says, hey, this lady, I don't even know her, Stacy, called me and said she knows the death date and time. And said, do you want to know? She told me you're not supposed to know until the last time, but I'll tell you if you want to know. I said, no, don't tell me. If I'm not supposed to know until then, don't tell me until I'm supposed to know. Well, then I hang up and I'm thinking, man, if it's so important that this lady calls 2 people I know to make sure they know, just for a backup, to make sure that I know at the last minute, maybe I should just know. So I go in there and I say to my cousin's wife, I say, you know what, go ahead and tell me. I want to, are you sure? Yeah, I'm sure. Just go ahead and tell me. She said, 3:18. As soon as she says that, I said, no, I don't want to know. And I took off running and I woke up. That was the dream. Now this is really close to, because it's March 11, and I thought, oh, Mom's going to be dead in a few days. Like, what's going to happen? Funny thing, my husband wakes up and he says, I had a dream about your mom last night. And I said, oh yeah, what was it about? He said, I don't know, I can't remember anything. Only thing I remember is 1 month. I thought, 1 month, well, that sure don't fall in line with the 3:18. But then I was like, wait a minute. The 3:18, is it time or date? They said they know the time and date. Okay, let me back up a little bit. When I woke up from the dream, I thought, 3:18, well, great, now I don't know if that's time or date. And as soon as I said that to myself, I heard the voice of the Lord, which I hear his voice audibly. It's not really in my ear or in my head, or I've said this before in other videos. It's almost as if there's this bubble and that's the voice and I'm in the midst of the voice. I hear it, but I hear it with my whole being, if that makes any sense. And I know some people's like, you can't audibly hear. Well, I know the Lord and I know his voice, and I know that what he has shown me in my life, it has been proven. The things that he has shown me has come to pass. I know to trust my Lord, and I do, and I trust his voice. But I hear this voice in it when I wake up, and I'm thinking, is it date or time? 3:18, and I hear this voice, whom I recognize as the Lord's voice, that said, the death date and time and the rapture is the same. And I just got excited. I'm like, oh, I don't even have to deal with it. Mom's going to die, and then I'm going to be raptured up. It's going to be great. Well, after a few days of praying about it, I was like, it's not the same day. I think the event is the same. I think that they are similar in what's happening. So I wasn't really sure how to interpret that or anything like that. So anyway, so my husband says 30 days. So, and I was like, okay, that's weird. So 3 or 4 days go by later, and I'm talking to my husband on the phone, And I heard I'm sitting in my sofa. I'm just talking to him. We're talking about the weather or something. I don't even know. And I hear the Lord's voice, and he says, prepare yourself. She's not going to be here much longer. And I just started bawling. One, my Lord's not a liar. Two, he always is true and faithful to me. He shows me things, and I can't ignore those. I knew when he said, prepare yourself, she's not going to be here much longer, which I don't know why as I'm saying this, it made me think, prepare yourself, she, the bride, isn't going to be here much longer. Maybe. I don't know. I just thought of that. So maybe part of that is why it's the same. I don't know. But I'm going to give the details of all of this, and it is going to have to be a part 2 because I'm already 3 more minutes and my camera's going to cut off. So, so he says it's not going to be much longer. So I'm bawling. I mean, I'm mourning my mother as if I just got the call saying she's gone. And my husband's on the phone with me. He's like, are you crying? And I'm like, Mom's not going to be here much longer. The Lord just told me. He just told me, and I'm bawling. And he's like, I know, honey. And I said, I don't know what I'm going to do. So much so that I called my sister. I was talking to her at 2 a.m., planning the wedding, planning the funeral. Who do we call? What do we do? Who, how are we going to get this together? What about the flowers? And, this, her funeral insurance will pay for this. I'm just, it was real, as if it had just happened. I could feel it in everything of my being. Though she was still alive, it was just the voice of the Lord. He speaks truth, and it is true. Take it as true. Now this was around the 14th of March. Well, I'd gone down to Mom's a couple weekends later, helped her get rid of some stuff, clean some things out, and Mom didn't look good. She looked like she had lost 20 pounds from the week before when I saw her. She was very, very yellow. She was unstable. Her sugar had been spiking during those times from when I had the dream about death, date, and time, 318, up until that point. I mean, her sugar had been under control, and she'd wake up and it wasn't even registerable fasting. And I had been trying to get her into the doctor, and I couldn't get her into the doctor until April the 11th. Funny thing, my husband woke up that same day on March 11th, said, I had a dream. What was it? I don't remember. All I know is 30 days. April the 11th was, or he said 1 month. April the 11th is 1 month later, which is the day that we ended up finding she had the cancer. So this was now the day I went down there to help clean things out was the Saturday before the 11th. The 11th of April was a Monday. So the 9th, April the 9th. So I'm down there and I'm like, something's not right. I mean, she was so off, and all day long. I'm like, this doesn't seem right. I mean, okay, so she's tired. She's taking more naps. They're taking longer naps. Her sugar's going up. She's yellow. She's lost weight. I don't think, Mary, think. We're going to go to the doctor, and I don't know what they're going to say, but I've got it. I mean, what is it? What is it? And sitting there in that chair, and I heard the voice of the Lord again, and all it said was pancreatic cancer. And I thought, oh no, Lord. So I instantly go to Google, signs of pancreatic cancer. Now, the very first one said end-stage pancreatic cancer. All the other stuff before it was like stage 2 pancreatic cancer, pancreatic treatments, blah, blah, blah. But the very first one said end-stage pancreatic cancer. So I signs and symptoms up. So I pull it up, and she literally had every single thing on the list. So I said, okay, they've got to test her. They got to check this out. So I go and I look, what tests do we need to do? What do we have to do to confirm if this is pancreatic cancer? So I found out that we need a pancreatic protocol CT, probably an MRI, a CA19 test, which measures the amount of cancer cells you have in there at your body. Of course, I didn't know any of this until the Lord said pancreatic cancer, and I went to Google. So, of course, I didn't tell Mom what I thought. I instantly called my sister and said she has pancreatic cancer. Called my brother, my husband, my cousin, who's my brother. I had called him a month before and said, look, mom's not going to be here much longer. And he was like, don't jump the gun. Well, this Saturday, I called him and said, she has pancreatic cancer. She's not going to be here much longer. And he's like, just wait till you go to the doctor, Mary. I think you're looking too far into him. So I'm telling you, the Lord told me he's not a liar. She has pancreatic cancer. So I'm going to go ahead and stop now. So it's going to cut me off, and I'll do a part 2. Okay?